Hello and welcome to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I'm Gary Morgan, exhausted from a terrible series and talking about a terrible series, and we're going to talk about a terrible series more. Jim, welcome to the show. You've been waiting in exactly what we're going to talk about most of today.
Yeah, there's a ton of synergy here because I woke up to a nice little sewer backup in the basement, and which is always super fun, by the way. And we just saw a complete sewer backup with the Pirates and Brewers. So I mean, why not? Let's just keep going.
Yeah, but I think it's at least has a case for the worst series of the season. It's right up there with the White Sox. That's close. The White Sox are arguably the worst team in the American League, and the Pirates got swept by them and beaten pretty handily. The Brewers are by far right now the best team in baseball, and they just beat the bejesus out of the Pirates, even worse than Colorado than the White Sox did.
Every which way you could do it.
So I guess I ask you, which of those two is worse? Is it worse to lose the way they did to the worst team in the American League, or is it worse to lose to a division rival that you have hung tough with, in fact, had the best record in the division against last year?
Gary, that's a really interesting question.
I do that on occasion.
Every once in a while you stumble onto one. It's great. No, I will say for me it's the Brewers. It's the Brewers series because it's one thing to get your ass beat by the White Sox like they did at home, and it's sad to say we're kind of used to that in a way. Embarrassing stuff, but the Brewers was just this absolute punch in the face reminder of what you're not in every way, shape, and form in an organization. And I think that to me is way harder to like stomach at this point, because we were hoping that this would be what the Pirates would be in some way, shape, or form. What do you think?
I felt the Brewers series worse. This felt to me like the Ryan Braun, Prince Fielder Brewers, where we would get destroyed in Milwaukee over and over and over again. I was waiting for Randall Simon to come out and hit somebody. Like it was that kind of remembrance of the way it used to be in this division. And I say used to be because even while they've had the same record these last couple of years, they really have hung tough in the division and fought the division foes. And I guess I expected them to continue that. They seemed like that was a track they've been on. Even the Red series, I thought that was a pretty evenly played series. 2 games went each direction. They fought hard the whole time. I expected more of the same in Milwaukee. I didn't expect them to succeed. I thought they'd lose the series. But man, everything that could go wrong went wrong. Plus, you get beat like that in a 3-game set, you don't expect it to be when you have thrown Paul Skeens and Mitch Keller. You hope that's like the Andrew Heaney, Mike Burrows, and whatever we're throwing out on the mound for the 5th starter, which is a ridiculous statement in and of itself at this point. When we've had all these guys supposedly on the doorstep all year, there should be none of this whatever for the 5th spot thing going on. So it was frustrating from so many different angles, man.
Well, you just at any level, every level, any possible conceivable angle of the series, whether it was on the field to glaringly obvious front office, just The difference between
comparisons.
yeah,
Yeah.
like everything was just so like in your face, like, oh my God, this is what it should look like, and look at us. Look at us, you know?
Yeah, and I would have to say, like, Brian Reynolds, there was a bright spot, I thought, on Sunday. He was the only, I guess, guy who's supposed to be a star that was left in that lineup, with O'Neal Cruz being out with the head injury and everything. And he had 2 home runs, accountable for 5 runs in that game. He pulled them back to almost even. It was 6-5 at one point. And I'm not saying that I ever felt like the Pirates were going to overtake the Brewers and take the game, because the bullpen's been bad. But that was the first fight that I saw in the entire series, and it was just one guy. Paul Skeens fought, Mitch Keller fought. Mitch Keller looked like he was gonna handle it until he got through the rotation, a time with them, and they went after him. Skeens didn't look like he had it all night.
No, no, he was missing badly. Arm side at times. You could just tell. And when you go into a series against a team that is playing like the Brewers are, which I would actually suggest like trust me, I would not be complaining if I was a Brewers fan, but I do think you can like peak too early and be playing too perfect. I think they're at that point. It was just a buzzsaw type of series. And even someone as good as Skeens wasn't going to survive it. So, yeah, it was a punch in the face all the way around.
You can't expect perfection from anybody, and I think Skeens has allowed us to expect that for far too long, right?
Sure.
And I wouldn't even call what he was doing bad in this one. I think, like, if the Brewers weren't as disciplined as they are, about their approach and even what they will and won't swing at, or what they were hunting against him.
That's what I thought.
I,
The
I
last thing
just
you said.
I just think that that's not the way every team would have performed against what Skeens had to offer that night. So when I sit here and say, like, oh boy, he was off, I think it's a combination of he probably didn't have his best stuff, and that's a really, really talented offensive unit just flexing on all cylinders going against you, and they're not missing anything.
No, and the umps did miss a few. And against a team like that, Paul Skeens is even going to be somewhat vulnerable to that. I thought the umpiring was pretty. It was a pretty stark contrast as to what Peralta was getting and what Skeens was not getting. So
What do you think of
yeah,
Donnie getting run again? I mean, like, is it getting excessive, especially when it's balls and strikes? Because I understand protecting your guy. All right, I get that. But come on, man. Like, they only got like a certain amount of games here, and you're gonna get thrown out what, a dozen times this year if it keeps going at this pace. Like, let's just stay in the game and realize that this is just a crappy up.
yeah, I don't know, man. Don Kelly is in the same situation that Derek Shelton is which is you don't have enough on the field to compete, and maybe you just haven't. You only have so many things you can do, so you might as well go out and yell and scream at somebody. I don't know.
It was interesting that this time when he got thrown out, Gene Lamont kept the clipboard instead of giving it to Robello like they had been doing. So somebody has moved up or down in the organization a little bit, huh?
Oh man, we need a lot of movement in this organization, Gary.
It's just funny the way that we're looking at Gene Lamont like he's some kind of savior, or did this excellent job here of it himself. You know what I mean? Like back in the day.
The wise old sage, Gene Lamont.
Yeah, I mean, if all of Don's advice is going to be coming from Leland and Lamont and whatnot, and I think we might be talking about like the worst possible mix ever. You've got one side, the baseball ops side, that just can't get their head out of books and spreadsheets, and then you got a dugout side that is relying on two old coots from the 80s and 90s to tell them their baseball wisdom, right? You hope that somehow he's like able to decipher all of it in his head and do the right thing.
Yeah, well, it does seem like the organizations that get it get the blend right. They get that blend of old school baseball and then the new school, and then they have a way to bring that together. The Pirates, they're all over the place. It's either 20-year-old nerds called big balls that are crunching spreadsheets, or we have Methuselah. There's no in between.
Absolutely, man. You know what we ought to do, man? Let's take a break and come back. Let's talk about something different. Let's talk a little bit about what this team kind of starts to look like next year with or without Ben Cherington.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
All right, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Jim, let's do one of those like old cartoons from the after school days where we just go back in time and pretend that Ben Cherington doesn't exist and move forward into next year, because I don't want this conversation to touch him. I don't need it to. There's certain things that just make too much sense to even consider. We have to talk about what's coming back next year that we know is coming back. We know O'Neal Cruz is coming back. It would be insane for anyone, including this GM, to sell that low, right?
Yep.
No way.
That's why they were getting some feelers about him, right? Or the Pirates.
I don't know if I believe that or not, Jim. To be honest with you, I don't.
I would just say that, but if there were, it's because are the Pirates dumb enough to move him?
Yeah, I don't know. And again, I don't want to talk about what this guy would do.
Sure.
Let's just say I think he's coming back because I think it would be selling way too low. Reynolds, same thing. That's happening too. Horwitz is starting at first base. You know it as well as I do. And Gonzalez is starting at second base, and you know it as well as I do. I'm going to stick at those four, but I'm tempted to push Davis into that group too, because I really think he has at least shown he's defensively their starting catcher. And I would expect he has to get another opportunity next year. I can't see any organization moving off of a 1-1 that quick.
I would agree with you. I think Henry is going to get the crack at it. I don't even have a problem with Horwitz and Gonzalez. You know what I mean? Like, I think they've shown enough that they should get those chances.
Well, let's pause on them before we run through the whole gamut again.
Okay.
Let's pause on those two, because Horwitz and Gonzalez are two guys that I think we're still waiting to see really what they're going to be. I think Gonzalez, he's shown he has, I think, a better contact bat than many of us thought he might. And he's doing a little bit better job of holding off on that third strike swinging, right? He's doing a lot better job of getting the bat to ball. So I'm happy about that. Power, I think, will come a little bit more. He's had a lot of warning track power this year, a lot of gap power, and I think that'll just continue to translate. And you have to let these kids grow into the power, right? So I fully do expect that.
I would prefer it. If you're going to be one way or the other, I would prefer seeing Gonzalez, what he's doing, and then the power starts to grow into your game. Whereas if all he could do right now was hit a couple, home runs here and there, but he was struggling with everything else, that would worry me. I think this is what you tend to see with hitters is they mature into more power. Now, is he ever going to be a guy that, hits 25? I don't know, probably not. But
I think right now he's an ambush power guy. He's going to get that swing for the fences off in the first 2 pitches. You know what I mean? And then after that, he'll take a little something off, and he still has some pop. So two things will happen. One, he'll learn how to uncork it still on that third one, or he'll be more selective in his first couple pitches and just start to improve about when to pull the trigger. That's what I do think is going to happen with him. He will grow.
Yeah, for a younger hitter, and I mean that with with his number of at bats at the major league level, I think he does a real good job of being able to shoot the ball the other way. His bat control, I think, is better than I expected it to be. So yes, it's just about recognition now and knowing when that A swing is going to play. So I'm optimistic about Nick, maybe more than a lot of maybe the most. I think there's just room for a lot of growth there.
I think there is too, and I also think I'm okay if the next step he takes is not meteoric. I don't think that I need him to be a star. I don't think that's what he's headed for, but I think major league regular is definitely in the future here with decent pop. And I think that's what he's going to grow into, and I think we'll just continue to watch that next year. So I'm happy to have him back. Horwitz is another one. I think when the wrist really fully heals and he gets a whole season of that, the power numbers should creep back to what they were. I think he's a 15, 20 homer guy. The swing is sweet, man.
Yeah, he is. He's a really. You talk about guys that give you professional at bats. I like Horwitz's approach at the plate. I wish more guys would do what in the majors all around what Nick Gonzalez and Spencer Horwitz do, which is they know their game and what they're capable of. And I do think with Horwitz especially too, like the wrist injury, it shouldn't surprise anybody that the first couple of months look like it did with him. It really shouldn't.
It was really his spring training.
Yeah.
I think he had like 3 rehab games or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a real quick return. That was probably not the smartest thing either, but hey, we're not talking about that guy anymore, right? That's gone. So
and from what I understand, Spencer's not a gambler, so that's a positive too, right?
Right. But I think that's a decent couple guys coming back. Davis, we talked about why we think he gets a shot briefly, and I don't really feel like going into super defensive why you do that mode with Davis, but I do think they need a better option for the backup. So they're going to have to deal with that, right?
You would think.
I say Bart, this mainly because Bart defensively.
Yeah.
Just you can't have it. You can't have it if you're building your team on pitching.
If Bart's doing offensively what he did last year, I think you could live with it only because you needed it. You need the offense and what he provided last year. But if that's not going to be there and it, let's just be honest, I mean, it just has not, then what's the point? Like it was only acceptable if he was doing what he was doing at the plate.
And even that, listen, whoever, I think this is the 3rd time I saw Endy. Endy just had elbow surgery, guys. He's out. He's gone. And he hasn't hit at any level of baseball since Double-A. I'm done putting him in pen in my plans. Okay? I hope that he does return. I hope he's okay. I refuse to pretend he's part of anything next year. Surprise me. I hope he does it. But I don't need to ever pretend anymore about that.
No, I think people like you guys. Andy at this point, this is about getting healthy and surviving. Like this is not. Things have changed there. They just have. This is the second major arm injury the guy's had. He hasn't hit much at AAA. He hasn't hit when he's been given a chance in the majors. Like I really think I hope the best for Andy, but he for me right now would be completely out of sight and out of mind. Like I don't know.
Yeah, don't mistake it for hate. It's not like I hate the player or I think they should DFA him. I don't. I'm not. That's stupid too. I just think we don't have a clue what this guy can do defensively. I don't know if he can ever catch again.
That's just it. Everything is so up in the air right now with Andy. It's just not somebody you should be focused on at this point.
Exactly. And I literally just told you who your first baseman is next year. If you think doing that right-handed is enough, then okay, you can talk about Andy, but don't talk about him in spring because that's right when he's supposed to be recovering from his surgery in time for spring, which means that'll be the first time he swings a freaking bat in almost a year again for the second year in a row.
Think about the time he's missed, Gary.
My God.
If you're talking about the time he's missed, the number of at-bats he's gotten in the last couple years, the odds are so stacked against him at this point. I hope he does. I hope he comes back and is healthy and finds a role. We shouldn't be talking about him.
No, this would be like having Nick Birdie on the 40 man and talking about him being the closer next year.
Mm-hmm.
No, like you can't trust that he's going to be able to do it. That's all. Let's see it. I will absolutely be like his biggest champion if he comes back healthy and looks like he can do something and finds a position and it's a position of need. Stick him in the outfield. God, do they need an outfielder? Stick him in the outfield. If the arm can handle one throw, like as opposed to 50, okay.
I think this comes down to too, Gary, is like we have so few people to point to that could help. That like on the offensive side of things, that's why Andy's name keeps getting brought up, which is
that, and it got hammered into everybody's head that the Pirates were holding him back, even though he wasn't performing in the minors, because people were so desperate to have something else to be mad about, which is kind of what being a Pirates fan has turned into, being mad about shit. No wonder it's not fun, Jim. Like, no wonder that it's not fun. It doesn't even feel fun to be at the ballpark anymore.
No.
Like, it's not like I love seeing my friends. I love seeing people that I have met over the years, and I certainly have fun with my family or whoever I go with. But the atmosphere in the ballpark is crap. I don't want to be around it. I can't imagine why anyone would. You know, these boycott things people talk about, they don't do them because people plan these things way long before. You'd be amazed how many of these tickets are just people that like their boss buys season tickets and dumps a couple tickets on them, their employees, as like some kind of an extra gift. They're booking these seats for a September game back in June when the company started handing the tickets out. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
There's never going to be an empty ballpark. You dummies. Like, stop saying
it. It's to the point now where, and by the way, Gary, just real quick, because I was curious. Andy Rodriguez, dude he had 52 at-bats this year, missed all of 2024. you're talking years with this guy now. So, anyways, no, and when even when we go to the ballpark anymore, all I'm really interested in is watching some of the game and making sure Ben has a good time when he goes. Like that's what it comes down to, and I think that's exactly the vibe you see at the game. You get some hardcore old school fans, but otherwise, it's it's an activity, not a destination, if that makes any sense.
And it's their own fault. You know, again, I don't blame the fans for the atmosphere. I think that, you know, maybe we've reached that point where people are at their breaking point again, Jim. We knew it would come. You know, it's not like we weren't here before.
Does it feel
this season right now, this feels so much like 2011. You know, I can't even begin to say how much it feels like it. It felt like the whole thing was falling apart, like they were going to waste Andrew McCutchen. In fact, they were going to have to trade him because they weren't, you know, they'd never extend him, and it felt just like this.
Well, we've been through some of these, right?
Yeah.
Too many of them. Then you had the Felipe Vasquez, which was kind of the final nail in the coffin on that one, which there was nobody at the ballpark. The Pirates were almost embarrassed into doing something about the front office at that time. Do you think why does it feel so bad this time and possibly worse? Because that's almost the vibe I get as we sit here today.
I mean, social media has changed, for one thing, pretty drastically. It used to be, it's always been a little bit of a annoying cesspool in some way, shape, or form. But people used to not be afraid to be a little bit happy about something small and joyful as they are today. Like, watch what happens on social media if somebody says something like, I met Jared Triolo today and got his autograph. And they put that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that you want to understand like why there's an overall pall on things. And it's because that's not even okay.
Yeah, God forbid anybody has even a moment of joy in their day. It's like you might as well have tweeted out that you met Jared from Subway.
Well, right, but what will be underneath that? It'll be like, why would you want to get his autograph? Teach your kid to be a loser early. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's like, why the hell did I put this on social media again? You know, and I think more and more in life, I think we're starting to see more and more people think, why the hell did I put that on social media again? You know, and it's like, now all it is a place to go when you got something to bitch about. That's it. And for people like me, you know, there was a time like where I've met people on here. I met you, tons of friends, James.
Yes,
there's tons of people in the chat. Eric, we're friends with, right? You know, I don't know David's last name, so I can't say that, but we're friends with some Davids. You know,
yeah, no,
we've met a lot of people. Greg Hoyle, I talk to all the time.
Yes, but even if we've never met some people in person, and we've met a lot,
yeah,
we still know them by name on here. And but yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like if there's anybody new coming into the picture, it's more of this new wave type of approach and attitude towards social media, which is basically take a dump all over everything. Which with the Pirates,
they're coming in poisoned. Like, they're not here to watch a team try to build, whether they believe they are or not, right? They're not watching a team try to win. They're here because they have friends that are having fun making fun of people that are watching it online. That's what they're here for. They're not watching this. You know what I mean? Like, and I think the interaction level has just sunk, like, between now it's people like North Shore 9. It's like pumping out 50 billion like posted. I'm not going to try to catch up with them. Like, Do what you want to do, man. I don't need to react
we're
to
old,
everything
so
either.
that's part of it. But
I just don't need to react to it anymore. I think
Yeah.
that's the point. I just have no reason to do it online anymore like that. And in the stadium, it's just feel it. You feel that energy. People are there looking for something to be mad about, hoping almost to have something to be mad about. Will this be the night that he's embarrassed enough? You know what I mean? Like, that's what they're hoping for. And
yeah,
we're spending time getting mad that you're not allowed to wear a bag to the stadium like it's brand new. You know, like.
Well, I mean, that's social media in general, which is, I think, what you were saying earlier, which is like, we spend time looking for things to get mad about. There's plenty enough to be mad about with the Pirates in general.
Yeah.
We don't have to like make other things into things. I do think like it's an interesting point in with this fan base, with having some of the pitching and the pieces and Paul Skeens, and you've got other things with Connor Griffin and things on the way that, but it almost feels like it's as hopeless as it's ever been, or that people at least feel that.
I just thought of what it feels like to me. Right after the strike in 1994. That's what it feels like to me.
Okay. Elaborate.
People hated baseball, just in general, all around, especially here for some reason. Mostly because we came out of it not with nothing getting improved for us, and we knew it was going to continue to be terrible. But
well, at least that didn't last, Gary.
No, at least that changed quickly. But that's what it felt like to me. That shutdown, that damaged the game really bad, and like on a very island level here in Pittsburgh, I feel that right now. I feel like the sport in this city right this second is just damaged. I really do. We're to the point where we can't see anything without running it through the prism of how bad it must be first because they did it. And that is just no place to be a fan or to talk about a team or to understand, you know what I mean? Like that to me, if that's your baseline for like entering discussion or ingesting a game or watching, you're not going to have any fun, period. Regardless of what this team does, you're going to be Randy Quaid sitting in the stands saying they still stink right as they're in the playoffs. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no.
That's not being a fan to me. That's crap. I have to admit that they finally made it, whenever.
Yeah, I think too, like, part of it too is like Pirate fans have been educated enough about the situation here in Pittsburgh through just experience, right? We know what it is and we know what we're up against. But I think people have been educated enough in at least the last couple years, if not longer, about the issues in Major League Baseball, that they feel that it's you combine that with the Pirates and the way they're ran, and then people are educated enough now about the system that they feel like there's just no hope. There's just how is there any path to anything positive? So I think
used to not hear about a prospect unless Fedco or Bob Pompiani talked about it on the 6:00 news, and you were like, that must be a pretty damn good prospect I just heard of for the first time ever. Right? And like that was most people. Or if Stan and Guy were talking about him, man, there's somebody to pay attention. That's how I remember hearing about Andrew McCutchen.
It was the Chad Hermanson effect.
Yes.
Which old friend of the show, and I hope he's doing well. But yes, that used to be how you found out about somebody.
Absolutely. We should do Call Your Shot, man, because we need to circle back and finish our discussion. And this is going to bring us right into Cruz and Reynolds.
What's up, guys? welcome back. Another week of Call Your Shot, the place where your questions, rants, and hot takes get the spotlight. I'm Taylor Rashop Yins. I was going to wear a paper bag tonight, but had to settle for my Yins bucket hat. Couldn't find some paper bags to wear tonight, but man, what a rough week, what a rough season. But we'll just get to the point here. We got a poll question this week for Call Your Shot. Gary's post says, do you believe in Reynolds and Cruz to bounce back in 2026? Answer and tell us why. Man, we got a ton of answers. Final votes were yes, 59%, and no, 41%. And 156 of you voted. So, damn, that's awesome. Some tough ones here to pick, but I want to pick Sean Conley. He voted for the rebound, and he said Reynolds will improve as his wife won't have a kid next year. Cruz will because he hasn't gonna like his ARB number in 26. Plus it will be his age 27 season. Put up or shut up for him. Honestly, a lot of you guys wanted a third option with Reynolds, yes. Cruz, no. Man, everyone's giving up on Cruz right now. Didn't see that after the home run derby selection there, but Reynolds has been hot. Cruz hasn't. He's on IL now, and geez, it's just hard to be a Pirates fan, guys. So, wanted to just drop it now. Made a new shirt on shopyins.com. Make the Pirates great again. I'll throw it up right here. Check it out. Rock some Pirates stuff while you can. Some more maybe fun ones coming for the rest of the season. And hey, it's almost football season, almost hockey season. But can't wait for 2026, right? See you guys. See you next week.
Changing the game, spitting that flame. His name is I got that Pittsburgh sound, and I'ma always hold Pittsburgh down.
Well, there you have it, man. I love the shirt. That's a really cool shirt. I think I might have to pick that up.
No, I like it a lot.
And the comment from Sean, spot on. I didn't even think about Cruz getting a low ARB number and maybe getting a little bit of a kick in the butt next year. That's actually a good point. What do you think that will do to his mentality? And what do you think? The poll was a little closer than I thought. I thought it'd be more no's just based on the comments that I've been reading recently.
Yeah, no, it was a tough question for me when I sat and thought about it.
I didn't want to give anybody the out of that pick one or the other either.
No, yeah, right.
Because if they both aren't, to me, the question is moot. The team goes nowhere if they both aren't. So.
No, they have to have them both. And they need more.
Yeah.
We know that. I think, do you bank on the guy? Do you bank on the guy that has been really consistent in Reynolds, but is starting to get into those years where you just never know if someone's kind of starting to go down a little bit? Or do you bank on the guy that is younger, not by a whole heck of a lot, but in baseball terms, still plenty younger, and this is probably his floor, but the ceiling is higher? I think it's a tough, man. I think it's tough. But you're right in the sense that they need them both. There's no either or.
Yeah. I'm less concerned about Brian Reynolds declining offensively. Defensively, I think it's pretty apparent. But offensively, I'm not all that concerned about it. I don't think that's what happened to him this year is the point. First, I'm not a hitting coach, Jim. You know that, but we notice things because we pay a lot of attention to these stances, especially. Have you ever seen Brian Reynolds look so different with his left and right swings as he does right now? The thing that was so awesome about him is that both of his swings were almost identical. and we always marveled at how he did that mechanically. And now he's got a leg kick going right-handed and a toe tap sometimes, or foot down left-handed. I think he's confusing himself, frankly. He's just being a little too flexible with his own mechanics.
It's funny because I think I'd hate to be a hitter in today's day and age for a lot of reasons. But I just think there's so much information out there, Gary. Like, I don't know how you would filter it all into what you need to do and what you want to try, and not over experiment too much. Like, I just feel like it would be so confusing now. But you're right. Reynolds, all hitters tinker. I mean, they do, and you have to, right? Like,
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying he's always been best when he has his mechanics lined up.
Right.
Because he sees everything the same way.
Yeah.
So,
I just think it would be so hard in today's game to know what to let in and what to just brush aside. It would drive you crazy at times with all the analytics and all the information and the data that you do have now.
I think, like, by the end of this season, I don't think his batting average will be where he wants it, but I bet his RBIs will be pretty close. I bet he'll end up with like 70, 80 RBI. And then I hold out some hope that he gets close to 20 home runs. He might be able to crack that this year if he gets on a heater and stays on it. And that would be at least less of one of these like nightmare drop off the table seasons for Brian Reynolds. You know, you'd at least look at those overall numbers and be like, okay, solid contributor, get it. O'Neal Cruz, his numbers are pretty good too, Jim. Like, honest to God, like, he does have almost 20 home runs. He will, if he comes back healthy and doesn't have a season-ending concussion. And that with his stolen bases, I don't think I'll be able to say it was a bad season. But there should be so much room for improvement with him still. And I guess I've been kind of seeking for what's that thing that might make it different. And Sean's comment kind of is the first thing I heard that made me kind of think maybe that's it. Because I don't think at this point it's going to be a coach or a veteran. They have been taking swings at finding some veteran to get through to him for a long time.
Seems like he's well liked.
Yep.
From what you see and hear, and what you.
He calls himself Monkey. You know what I mean? Like, he's a goofball, a big goofball kid that just wants to have fun. You can't have a guy like that on a team that you need him to be your best player.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like a lot of guys handle that contract stuff or you just never know how someone reacts to that. If it were as simple as, well, geez, I need to play better because I'll get paid more, then everybody would be better, and it wouldn't matter as much. It's so hard for me to figure out what O'Neal Cruz is and how it's all going to shake out.
No, but I think, like, even if this is the player he is, it's not a bad player. It's a player somebody else would want. I just think you're selling him low based on where his ceiling is and the kind of room that's still there. Now, I will say, like, Sean's dead on right. We're talking season year 27, man. Like, it's his 27-year season next year. You got to start peaking, bro. If it's going to happen, you got to start peaking. And he could. But, like, 27's kind of old to be like, okay, I think we feel like the capability to play center field's there. And the capability to hit 30 home runs is there. And the capability to steal 50 bases is there. And can we kind of tie it all together or not? You know what I mean? That's what we need to see next. And I think it's actually appropriate to take him to arbitration this year. Unless you can convince him to sign low and buy out a few years of free agency, I'd be willing to do it. But you can't bank on him being an all-world, otherworldly player, because I don't think he's shown you that capability yet.
No. God, it's so hard with him, isn't it, Gary? In general. I don't know exactly what to do with him. Other than the fact that I'd like to keep him.
Right.
The Pirates aren't in a position to just say, O'Neill Cruz, sorry, we're so talented that we don't need that right now.
We just talked about their home run numbers. You cannot give up like your only guy who's hitting them, right? Yeah, no.
So yeah, he's a really, really tough case right now, and I do think you would take him to arbitration. I would,
and I think he'll probably improve next year a little bit. I do.
And let's be honest. I think if O'Neill Cruz was in a better lineup, you see his at bats sometimes. Teams don't throw to him. Why would you?
This is an interesting point because I kept hearing this. Well, there's nobody to protect him in the lineup. Okay, well, are we giving Brian Reynolds that excuse too? And if we are or we aren't, are we giving Nick Gonzalez that excuse? Like at some point, somebody has to be the guy that hits, that protects somebody, right? I mean, like, I think Cruz is that type of guy that should be protecting others. You should not want to get to his bat.
It's a fair point, Gary. I will say that I do think that like Cruz gets put in a different level by other teams in the sense of
he's the one that can kill you.
Yeah. Like, and especially as many one-run games as they play in like low-scoring games. Why in the world would you ever give O'Neill Cruz anything to hit? Why? Yes, I think Brian Reynolds is enough of an accomplished hitter to know how to work around that at times.
Yeah.
Whereas Cruz does not have that capability.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, it's frustrating for me to talk about somebody not being protected in a lineup where I just don't see any protector. I just don't see there being that. Yeah. And even when Kutch is in there, they sometimes put Kutch right. Kutch isn't scaring anybody anymore. Like, I know he can hit some home runs, and I'm not saying that he's like a slouch or anything. Kutch is going to kill you, 10, 15 times a year?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you have to kind of make a mistake too. So
yeah, it does matter in the sense of like, it's not just protection behind a guy. And I know some people think that's a myth. I think you're insane, by the way, if you think that's a myth.
I've never met a player that thought it was a myth.
Oh, watch an O'Neill Cruz at bat when anything is of importance, he gets nothing, and you'd be crazy to. But like, protection is like not just behind a guy; it's throughout a lineup. If you don't fear a lineup, it's not just about the guy behind a guy.
And the Pirates lineup is never something to fear because they're always much more interested in a walk than anything else.
100%. So you don't have to fear anything.
Let's take another break, Jim, because we have to. And then let's come back and let's answer Martin's question here because it's going to continue the 2026 conversation a little bit.
Okay.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. coverage that connects.
Hey, welcome back to the Pirates Fan Forum here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. Martin says, is Kutch one of the players that you have coming back next year? Jim, we talk about this delicately, just like we did last year, right? I think at the end of the day, he probably does if he wants to. I'm more comfortable with it right now than I have been at any point in this process where I felt like it was just something Nutting was just going to force into the, and once that was in the room, Derek Shelton was going to just nail him to DH and leave it go, and that's it. I feel like Don Kelly has been much more liberal with sitting him. And I don't just think it's the end of the year. I think this needs to kind of start being your role now. If that's what they do, I'm happy with him coming back. But if they plant him at DH, where I ultimately think Perez is going to wind up, which we need to talk about too, because he had some interesting comments, right?
He did. He did.
So, but I think if Perez has a chance next year, it's probably not a backup catcher. Everything I'm hearing, he's not very good there. So I need to see it before I judge it myself, but I've heard it.
That's a tough thing is we haven't seen a lot.
No, but I tend to trust Keith Law, and he was pretty brutal about it. Like, just there's no way this guy's going to catch. And they don't need a first baseman, and that leaves the DH, and I do believe the bat's capable. So I think you're going to have to at least consider a much more limited role for Kutch. I would not turn my nose up at him. Think about, like, how often that they play Alexander Canario, add a couple hundred at bats throughout the year, and that's Kutch's role. The back of the bench, if you ask me.
Yeah, until I'm convinced or even see an inkling that they have enough guys that can have major league at bats, I will still side with Andrew McCutchen. And they're just not to that point. So if he wants to come back, I'm all for it. But we can't keep treating him as like a guy that like you are counting on for any type of like super measurable production.
No, you need a big pinch hit.
Yes.
Or you have an injury or something like that. And yeah, Flores, I meant Flores, not Perez, I'm sorry. Flores could be a platoon first baseman. I keep hearing this too. There's not a lot of opportunity there, guys. There's just not. Look at how many at-bats Liover Peguero's been getting. This is while being a backup first baseman on the platoon side and playing other positions. That's not a position on this team. It's a capability. Right-handed first baseman is a capability on this team. Not a position. Not somebody you go out and openly address or feel like it's a hole you have to fill. Horowitz is going to start. There are way more right-handed players on the mound. You're going to start most games when you're the left-handed side of a platoon. Nobody cared as much about Gary Reedus as they did Sid Bream. You get what I mean?
Yeah. Apologies to anybody who's under 40 that doesn't know who that is, but yes, that's exactly right.
We don't have any listeners that are under 40, Jim. I'm sorry. That demographic is gone.
God, what are we going to do when we all age out and die? We need to get to the point where Kutch is batting like when he does play, like seventh in the lineup.
Yeah.
Like not putting him
and clean up, or 2 or 3. Yeah.
Yes. Like that's ideally what you want to do. And until you can tell me they can't, that, that there's no room, of course I'd want him back. He still can give you a professional at bat.
Yeah. And he will come back. But I guess he wasn't in my thought process for next year because I'm thinking more of the guys I expect to start. Until I'm seeing something else. Those are the guys I expect to start. Part of me thought we'd be using the rest of this year to be deciding if maybe Cam Devaney could be the starter at short. Apparently that's not in the cards. If he who can't be named too will call Ben Jerrington.
You said we weren't going to do this, Gary.
If he had his druthers, though, I could add a 6th guy that I'm damn sure is going to be here, and it's Jared Triolo, because they just can't seem to break up. All right, and listen, the bat isn't coming, and this isn't Henry Davis. This isn't a 1-1. I respect the glove. I'd be happy to have it as a bench glove or a backup glove or whatever. You know what I mean? But is he providing more than Liover Peguero? And if you're honest with yourself, which one has a better chance of being back next year? Like, if this current management is in place, which one of those two do you think they'd pick? It's the exact opposite of the one that I would suggest.
It's
I think I've seen more out of Peguero.
It's Triolo.
Yeah. But there's just this theme of guys that have major hit tool issues up here. They do nothing about it. Like, we know what Henry's problem is. We have known for a long time what Henry's problem is. The league knows what Henry's problem is. I'm not saying that it's easy to adjust mid-season to things like that. You're not going to teach somebody to do, but some of this stuff is as simple as, like, dude, stand up just a little. Like, you can do that. You can make an adjustment like that. And if he's too stubborn for that, then you have a bigger problem.
Henry is married to the game, and what I mean by that is Henry is married to what he thinks is going to work.
Or married to studying his books or paying attention to Let's get into Flores' comments, because I thought that was interesting.
Okay, yeah.
Really good piece, actually, in the Post-Gazette. Loved it. Very insightful. Talked about the differences between the Yankees and the Pirates. One of the things was that the Pirates focus a lot more on trying to win at the minor league level. And I just wanted to get your take on it, because I've seen everyone else's reactions already. I figured I'd get yours.
Yeah, from an outsider's perspective, I think about what is more important, and to me, it's the minors have always been about, like, the personal development of players. I would like to know how other organizations, other than what Flores said about the Yankees, how they approach that, and the importance they place on winning versus development. But I would think if you're covering development, that the winning hopefully comes with that. Winning at that level and not emphasizing development as, like, the main thing. I just don't know how that works. I mean, what was your take, Gary? Because I mean, it's one guy.
It was the most unsurprising thing ever to me. I've been hearing this since the days when we all believed that there was this giant cavalry coming from Greensboro. They've been talking about the importance of those guys being together and winning together.
Do you think they
Gonzalez
think
and Piguero, they talked about it over and over again. That's what they wanted to do, is win championships as they moved up the system together, right? And Ben Cherington talked about how much he thought that was important way back then. I got all my thoughts about that out of my system way back then. I thought it was silly. I don't think there's any reason to care about it. I know it still goes on. In fact, I know for a fact it's been discussed whether it would be better to leave Connor Griffin in Greensboro to win that championship or move him to AA. And if you're having discussions like that, you've already lost the stupid contest.
But do they do that because they think, well, this is the core that has
They
to
think
get
it
us there?
teaches them to win, Jim.
Right, but with the guys that are going to have to do it, because it's not
They
coming
believe-
from anywhere else.
They believe that winning is something that you learn. They don't believe that winning is something that happens when you amass enough frickin' talent. They believe you can be taught how to win. And they drill it into these players' heads that they are learning how to win. You even hear Paul Skeens say it when he gets asked questions. We have to learn how to win. Well, you have to learn how to win, yes, but we always forget about the part where you have to have the talent too. That's the part they always forget. They bring in a guy like Tommy Pham. Why? To teach them how to win, how to be big leaguers. They bring in a guy like IKF. Why? To teach them how to be big leaguers and teach them how to win. How about teaching them how to play baseball? Like how about teaching them how to hit?
I've
How about
always
letting the
thought,
guys that can hit move up? You know?
yeah, I've always thought in baseball, especially, that some of the leadership and the learning to win thing is overrated. It's such a difficult sport. It's not always about effort in baseball. It's really just, it's not. Like, rah and effort doesn't help you hit a nasty slider. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different than, like, sometimes in football, it's a matter of will and want to and toughness, right? Baseball's not like that. So, like, I think sometimes it gets overemphasized in baseball to a degree that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
And on the other hand, if you want an example of somebody who thought it was super important and really got something out of it, Neil Walker is a great example of a guy who won a championship in the minors and felt like it really meant something to him and brought those players together and helped build what they built in the mid 2010s.
But he had the payoff from it too that would reinforce that belief too.
But he said it before that happened. He said how important it was to him before it happened. You know what I mean? So he didn't get the payoff when he talked about how much it meant to him and those players and brought them closer together. So I can see why you would want it to happen. But the minor leagues are set up the way they are with like the first half and second half results so that to a degree you can mitigate that by moving guys around and changing your teams. Like, I'm just saying it shouldn't be like a priority to the point where a guy like Flores that just got dealt for, that's one of his first major takeaways. That tells you that's in their onboard package, bro.
Yeah, it's a stark difference.
That's right next to don't touch boobies and stuff. Like, all the rules that you're supposed to follow at work. Don't say mean words to people. Like, it's right there, right in the handbook of how to be a Pittsburgh Pirate. The other thing he said was the way they disseminate information to catchers is basically like whatever they want. Whereas when he was with the Yankees, they would just give it all to them and let them decide whatever.
I was trying to make sense of that. When he would say whatever they want, they meant, did he mean the organization would give them what they thought was best, or if the catchers wanted that information, that's what they would like specifically?
They gave the catchers what the catchers wanted information wise, whereas the Yankees would just give you the information. They let the catchers decide like a special mix of what they want to look at and what they want to pay attention to and not pay attention to. Which is funny because Henry is notorious for looking at everything. And you would think that would kind of be the way the organization kind of trends because it worked out for him, right? And wouldn't you want all your guys doing that same sort of thing? So maybe this is a case where the Pirates actually do take an individualized training approach. And it's really like the dumbest possible time to do so.
Yeah. What's really disturbing about all this, Gary, is how much we have to guess.
Yeah.
Like we're constantly guessing. Like whatever it is, you're just like, well, I would assume it's this, but who knows because they don't do that here, but they've done it here, and you're just like, at this point of whatever this is with the person we shall not name, we shouldn't have to be just. It shouldn't be total speculation, like to this point.
Right. And I think it has to be because we don't get to see any of these guys come up. I was thinking about Cam Devaney. We talked about him just a little bit. You and I both thought it made a lot of sense for him to come right up to the 26th man to replace Adam Frazier. And that didn't happen. And we were both like, well, okay, I guess maybe you want to get your eyes on the guy or make room at the trade deadline. Well, now we kept IKF and Jared Triolo is still floating around. Still don't get to see this guy. And you know what it made me think of? Malcolm Nunez. Remember when we got him and he was really going to be like a shot at some power at third base or first base? And like we just never saw him and we still haven't seen him. And he's kind of performed in AAA this year too. And it's not even mentioned ever. They're probably going to have to leave him unprotected in the Rule 5 again. And I think he might have a chance to get taken. We'll never see that kid. What is the point of getting these guys?
I was just thinking that. I'm like, the odds of seeing him at this point, I don't even think it's that high.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But that's the point that you just made. We can't ever make sense of what I put something out on social media the other day. Like, we should just start doing the opposite of what we think they should do, because it feels like they just do the opposite of what we think is right most of the time. And you rightly pointed out it was George Costanza, so I unintentionally plagiarized that from Seinfeld. But dude, for real, like, that's what it feels like sometimes being a Pirates fan. If it's logical and makes sense, you might as well just sit down and forget it. They ain't doing that part.
Yeah, and we've talked about it. Like it depends on who it is too. Like when you're talking about, both of us were very, very much in support of with Jack trying to like at least see if that was still there, because he had done something with it early.
Right.
But that has to, it's always case by case. It's not just about Jack. It's about what's Triolo done and how long do you stick with it, and how long do you keep sticking with somebody. So I think it is case by case, but we don't even understand their case by case when it comes down to some of this stuff.
No. And nobody's really pushing from the minors. It's not like I'm complaining about any one in particular. It's just
Devaney should be here.
I would think so. And like, I really mean this. I just see no reason to waste any more time. I don't even mind Sawinski at this juncture of the season. In fact, I would play him every single freaking day the rest of this season. Period. I don't care if it's right or left field or center or whatever. It's going to be center for a minute here. Play him every freaking day. I don't care. Him and Canario, whatever. If you need to get it out of your system, Peguero should play every day. I barely want to see IKF or FAM or Triolo, really, if you want to play this guy and figure it out, fine. But decide this year. This is it. This is your audition.
I think my thing with Triola, and I know we're running long and we gotta go, but I'm not even sure what he's figuring out at the plate. There's nothing that suggested to me that he had anything figured out other than that weird little stretch where
He hit a little bit.
He hit because of a little bit of good fortune. So what are we doing there?
I don't know.
How's he going to figure? What's he figuring out? I don't think it was there. I don't think he had it figured out to begin with.
The glove's great. I think that's what it is they're desperate, like, to keep that defense somehow incorporated, but they just never understand. They have not built up the offensive credit to spend that kind of, talent on the other side of the ball. They need better. There's so much of that need better. Jim, I'm frustrated beyond belief right now with this baseball team, this community, like, just talking about the Pirates. Everything about them right now is just, it feels like there's a cloud hanging over you, and it sucks. And that's not the way I like watching sports. The Steelers have started to feel that way too. There's already people talking about Tomlin and his precious streak. We're in week 2 of the preseason. Like,
it has
shut up.
It has seeped in. Yeah. This it's a malaise that has seeped into both the Penguins and the Steelers right now. And we used to have outlets for that, Gary, as Pirate fans, because we're also Steelers and Penguins fans, so we could at least get something out of that. But it's starting to, I don't know. This is the new era of sports, and if you're not winning, then everything is terrible, and that part is tough to deal with, I think.
Yeah, I know. It just feels like some teams, legendary teams, went 100 years without winning a championship, like the Red Sox, and it's just not the way that you're supposed to take in sports. You're supposed to kind of deal with it, and like that's part of the process. That's the way I was brought up. That's your team, root for them, right? Now,
Yep.
Obviously it's not that way anymore, but and I'm not even that way anymore. But man, God, you have to accept, like, the little bits of joy that you do get here and there, or be happy about certain aspects of something ever. It's just insane the way that we've gotten right now. And it's not even fun. I can't imagine even wanting to go to a Steeler game. There's a fight every time, people getting drunk and screaming, falling out of the stands and crap. Like,
Oh yeah, dude.
It's the last thing I'd want to do. Penguins are half empty now. Wait till Sid's gone. My God. Yeah, it's depressing right now.
It's good times, man.
Maybe I will move to North Carolina or something.
Go get your flip-flops and fall off a bar stool somewhere.
We better get out of here. Thanks, everybody. Let's toss it off to Ben.
Let's go, Bucks!
Yeah, buddy.